I'm sorry I'm so back-to-back today, but we got a lot going on. I'm trying to help Peter Navarro finish raising money. That's the 74-year-old man who is Trump's top economic advisor. So if anybody out there can help me today, if you can go to givesendgo.com/Navarro. He is in prison right now. Givesendgo.com/Navarro. Trump's chief economic advisor. He's in prison because he wouldn't betray President Trump. He wouldn't turn over his texts and emails and phone calls. So if you could support him today, givesendgo.com/Navarro. That's where I want the focus to be today if we can.
Welcome to the Breakaway USA podcast. We are excited today to have Clay Clark, the founder of the ReAwaken America Tour and Thrive Time. He is a powerhouse in business and patriotism and freedom, all sorts of amazing things. So thank you for coming on the show. We're really, really glad to have you here, Clay.
You guys are first class, and thank you for lowering your standards to fit me on your show today. Thank you very much.
So glad to have you. It's an honor to have you. What the work you're doing across the country is awesome. So I'm looking forward to going to, I believe your next ReAwaken event is in Michigan. Is that right?
It is in Michigan, and I just want to be full disclosure so everybody's very clear. I've created a mass money-losing machine called the ReAwaken America Tour. And everybody out there, if you've created a mass money-losing machine that generates hit pieces and lawsuits, you too could experience what I experience on a daily basis. But I have one final confirmed event in Detroit, Michigan. And basically, if Eric Trump and or General Flynn want me to do another one, I've told them from the very beginning, I'm very consistent with that. I'm honored to serve in the way that firefighters or police officers or military folks are willing to serve for a season or for a term or whatever that is. I feel like this is something that I can do. And I feel like this is something that my wife and I feel called to do. So for anybody who does want to join the ReAwaken America Tour event, and I'm not, no backhanded compliments against other events, but we let people name their price to our events. So if you want to see, Jim Brewer or Roseanne or Eric Trump, Laura Trump, General Flynn, Mike Lindell, et cetera, you just go to timetofreeamerica.com and you can name your price. And as a housekeeping note, right now we have just under 700 tickets remaining for the ReAwaken America Tour in Detroit, Michigan on June 7th and 8th. Again, that's timetofreeamerica.com. On June 7th and 8th, the ReAwaken America Tour takes the final episode of the ReAwaken America Tour into Detroit, Michigan for the Michigan Mega Bowl.
Yeah, I don't know if I understand what you mean by Mega Bowl.
It's a Mega Bowl. What's not to understand? This is history in the making. You're going to want to tell your grandkids and their grandkids and their grandkids. And when they look back in the annals of history, they're going to be talking about three things: discovery of fire, invention of the submarine, and the Michigan Mega Bowl.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, on June 7th and 8th, the ReAwaken America Tour heads to the home of Governor Whitmer, the home of lockdowns, Motown, and it's going to be profound. Ladies and gentlemen, get those tickets right now at timetofreeamerica.com.
Awesome. Well, I think what you're doing is warfare, on this modern fifth generation battlefield. It's important to be, making certain sacrifices. And I think that is something that everyone needs to be doing to the extent that they're capable, right? I think we're all able to make certain sacrifices just to try to fight back because we're in a particularly sophisticated war right now. I look forward to joining. I'm only 4 hours from there, so I'm going to be driving down from Toronto. So I can't wait to hop in and bring my Canadian sensibilities to this whole thing, because if America goes down, Canada is going with it as far as I'm concerned.
Simon, I have a funny story for you. I do business workshops every 2 months. Okay. And I've been doing those, Michael and Simon, since 2005. All right. So just a little context here. I'm 43 years old. So I've been doing these things for, 19 years. Okay. Every 2 months. And so we had a guy at the Patriot Podcaster event that you guys were invited to, who came to the business conference. Okay. So he's thinking about, how do I optimize my photography, my videography, my web development, my accounting practice, just a business. I mean, this is what we do at the business conference. He has no knowledge of the Great Reset, but he's from Canada. He came from Canada, longtime client of mine. He's here from Canada to learn how to grow his business, but does not listen to anything that we're talking about today. He just listens to the Thrive Time show on Spotify. So he has no idea about these subjects. And I don't bring it up to my clients unless they ask me. So he says, hey, I heard that General Flynn's going to be here tomorrow. And I, do you mind if I stick around for your podcaster event? And I said, no problem. So he moves his flight back and he's now watching. Now, this is a fully vaccinated, fully unawake individual who's there for a business conference. And it looked like I was watching him because he was sitting in the conference. I watched him, and it looked like somebody who thought they were going to get on the tilt-a-whirl ride, kind of a ride designed for children. He thought he was going to get on like a carousel where you go up and down on the pony. And now he's going on the roller coaster that goes in a loop and goes super fast, 70 miles an hour. And it was like he got on the wrong ride. And I watched him just go through that. And we took a break, and I said, "Are you okay?" He goes like, "Dude, I had no idea any of this. I mean, I knew Trudeau was out of his mind, but I had no idea." I said, "You going to be okay?" He's like, "Dude, this is crazy." Now, he's sitting next to an ultra liberal who's also from Canada. And so I'm like, "Is she going to be okay?" He's like, I don't know. So then 2-3 sessions later, I'm like, "How's it going now?" Because that's when Laura Logan spoke. And he was like, "Dude, this is crazy. I had no idea. I thought Trudeau was just stupid. I had no idea that this was like a plan. I didn't know he was connected to Klaus Schwab." I'm like, "What? How do you perceive life? What have you been watching?" And he's like, "Dude, we're going to Disney. Dude, I'm going the lockdowns. I'm going to Disney, man. We just got back from Disney. I had to get vaccinated to go to Disney." And he has a whole different, he just watches mainstream media, never watches shows like yours. And so that was a good litmus test to me to see how much more work we have to do, because he had no idea. And he listens to my business show on Spotify. And I'm like, what? So again, we got a lot more people to wake up.
It's true that we can get trapped in these sort of echo chambers of our own, where we're fighting for the truth and we're sharing information, with our networks, and we have our followings and everyone's sort of agreeing with each other. But to really reach those people that have no idea, those people that have not been initiated into the war itself, that is the ultimate. I really think that's the goal. And sometimes I really do think that way too much energy gets spent on our side, just getting us all to nod at each other. And that work of getting to the uninitiated, it's kind of a unique art, because sometimes you show someone this stuff and they get totally traumatized and they back away from it. Other times it's, correct for them. Have you experienced the opposite, where it completely just sent someone, running for the hills?
Yeah, I find that most people run from the hills, and for the hills. I'll just give you an example. I've got 5 kids. And my 5 kids, they all have friends, and their friends, have parents. And so I meet people every day. I also have 160 clients that if you go to thrivetimeshow.com, you get a little context of the clients I work with. But these are dentists, doctors, lawyers, and it is a general rule. This is something I found. It's almost a direct proportion. The people that are the most interested in saving America usually have no interest in growing a business. And the people who are most interested in growing a business usually have no interest in saving America. And so I find that these two groups very rarely meet. And so I'm not saying this is how you should do it, but this is what I do. I decided during the lockdowns, I'm not going to lock my business down, not going to close down, not going to shut down, and I'm not going to edit the content that I put out. I'm just going to put it out. And so I immediately got kicked off of LinkedIn, immediately had my shows suspended on Spotify, immediately couldn't put out shows on iTunes, got the strikes, YouTube was removed, etc. And so now I found myself where I can put out the truth on X or Rumble or, Telegram, but that's not where my business clients go. My business clients go to Spotify. And then my awake clients, I would say, which is very few, they go to Rumble. And so I think it's very intentionally designed that way. And so I just share the truth without apology. You guys have been to my office, so you see the decoration in my office. I don't apologize. I put the truth up in the bathroom. I put the truth up in the hallways. I put the truth up everywhere. But again, man, it is hard to break out of that echo chamber, because again, people that are in my building oftentimes don't know about the Great Reset, because they only listen to my podcast on Spotify, and you can't hear the truth unfiltered on Spotify. So again, I that's why we do the Reawaken America tour event. So that's why I bring people like Roseanne. That's why I bring people like Jim Brewer. That's why I bring more mainstream voices like Eric Trump, so that people, most people tell me they're there they come to the event to see Roseanne or Eric Trump, but they learn a lot. Not saying that they don't learn anything from Eric or Roseanne. I'm just saying they tell me they learn a lot from Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, from Dr. Rashid Buttar, may he rest in peace, from Dr. Zelenko, may he rest in peace.
Dr. Buttar.
And it seems like they get out of the echo chamber when they meet these other voices, but I can't get them to our events to see me or to see the truth revealing doctors. They usually come because they want to see a mainstream comedian or a mainstream athlete. That's why, Darryl Strawberry, the Major League Baseball player, he's coming to Detroit as well. That's why I bring in a lot of those bigger names too, because it does attract a different crowd.
Excuse me. Dr. Buttar actually is one that was very early on bringing up stuff that, and he was one of the first people that I saw that was censored to the gills. Like he couldn't say a word without them coming after him. Rest in peace to him. But so that mix of culture and information, I think, is very important. And I think you're skating that line perfectly to attract both sides. But I think Turning Point USA does another good job at that as well. You have to have entertainment with information, and Lara Logan I found was a perfect guest to have as well, because she's a firebrand if I've ever seen one, and she has the experience and has had the boots on the ground, and is also huge in the mainstream, was huge in the mainstream until they shunned her for her truth telling and just her no nonsense attitude. But she really skates that line. So Lara Logan, how do you become familiar with Lara Logan, and is she a friend of yours, or is she somebody you reached out to and just asked her to come out?
Well, I'll tell people my strategy. I don't know if this is healthy, but if you go to Google and you do a search for Clay Clark whiteboard, you can see it. Yahoo says that my whiteboard is the center of the QAnon conspiracy movement, but everybody can just do a Google search right now on Google and just type in Clay Clark whiteboard. And this is not about manifesting or vision boarding or some sort of transcendental thing. This is just what I do. So I make a list of everybody, and I do this for every business I'm in every time. So this is not new to the Reawaken tour. But if I have a business coaching client I'm working with, and so say Simon was a client of mine, and let's say that you were trying to, and grow your dental practice, grow your auto auction, grow your whatever business, I would say make a list of everybody in your mind that you really, really want to meet that could change your life for the better. So if you're an auto auction, make a list of every used car dealer in Tulsa that you want to sell cars to. If you're a dentist, make a list of all of the family medicine practices that you want to refer you. So we make a list, and then we're going to call them all until they cry, buy, or die. And you say, what? We're going to call, text, and email them all until they cry, buy, or die. So as an example, I put Dr. Rashid Buttar on the board, and I called, text, emailed, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or everything. I keep call, text, email, call. And then eventually what'll happen is I usually get blocked. Usually someone will block me. And then I'll call from a different phone number.
Yeah, just make a new account.
Or somebody will call me and just be pissed. Oh, you've called me and text me every day. But once you get them on the phone, I mean, it's a good way to see if they're pissed. You can ask them when they're on the phone. So I got Rashid on the phone. And Rashid, as an example, and again, he was a longtime client of mine, and may he rest in peace, but this is a true story. So Rashid's like, who are you? So you need about a 10-second response, maybe 5 seconds. And I said, I'm teaming up with General Flynn to do this thing called the ReAwakening America tour, and I want to have you on the stage to share the truth. I really appreciate the work you do. And then at that point, a rational thinking person will think what do you get out of this? That's what they're going to ask. And if they don't ask it, they're thinking it. And so I told Rashid, hey, we let people name their price to come to our events. So I don't make any money on these. We don't make any money on these. It's just to help save America. And I think you'd be a great voice. And he goes, I've heard about you, and I've guess why you hadn't invited me yet. So yes, I'm in. And that's how that happened, But then I won't mention the name, but there's a really big household name recently that just gave me the riot act. It was awesome. It was awesome. And I don't actually, I think it's almost hilarious. I kind of view life as a great big Seinfeld show, but this guy's just going off. You've called me. You've texted me. You are email. You have no boundaries, man.
Well, that's great.
I say, I appreciate your frustration. So I wanted to ask you, do you want to speak at the Rio? That's what I do. And so I do the same thing in business too. That's how I do it. So back to Lara Logan, I made a list of all the people that I thought knew her. And I reached out to all of them, and one of them introduced me to her, and had her on my program. And I said, Laura, hey, I'm really honored to talk to you, and I'd love to have you on my show for a brief 10 or 15-minute interview. And since that time, I've just tried to consistently add value to that relationship. And now I would consider her to be a friend. I mean, she's visited my home in multiple occasions, and now I consider her to be a friend. But again, it's the idea of making sure A, you persistently reach out to those contacts. B, making sure you make it a win-win. And then C, making sure that if anything, the other party comes out ahead and not you. If it's anything, it's like the law of reciprocity. Make sure that the other person comes out ahead. And Laura, quickly, we found out that we are both trying to save America. And now we've become good friends. But we're going to Laura, incredible journalist. And we just had her on today's show. So if you go on X or Truth or somewhere, I'm sure you'll find that show that will be hitting the interwebs here probably in the next 30 minutes.
Okay, so I'm wondering, you have the Reawaken America tour, and we're in this position now where the globalists are going as hard as they can. Obviously it's going pretty smoothly for them here in Canada because Trudeau is really facilitating all of that. But there does seem to be a lot of areas where they're suffering defeat, and from what I can see, there's a bit of a panic going on. There's a struggle for them to achieve what they want to achieve. What is your vision for victory here? If America is reawakened and there is a defeat of this network of globalists who are seeking to install, a world power that's centralized in a world government, what do you envision? What's the goal here? What's your strategy reaching towards?
Well, I've been asked that question probably a dozen times by a dozen serious people. So I say serious people, I mean people that have the ability to actually change things if the right person got in power. I've been asked that question probably a dozen times. And I tell them I do 3 calls to action. And if you're running a business out there, again, I go back to business tips. Make a list of the 50 things you want to do, but focus on the 3. And then after you focus on the 3, focus on the 1. So have like your one big thing. And then if you get that done, your second. So I have like a list of like 50 things I would want to do, but there's 3 that I think we should do right away. One is we need to ban 5G. 5G. We need to ban 5G.
Ban 5G.
What? Yeah, 5G. There's So destroying 5G would be a lot like blowing up the Death Star in Star Wars, so you blow up the Death Star, boom. So again, I would just say remove 5G. Second is I would ban the use of And then the third is I would move us back to a gold-backed currency and move away, remove the central bank and anybody connected to the central bank and or the World Economic Forum. So if anybody was connected to the central bank or the World Economic Forum, whether you're related to them or not, whether they're Republican or Democrat, no matter who they are, if they're connected in any way, shape, or form to the World Economic Forum or to the central banks, I would remove them from office immediately. And America, we have a justice system where you're innocent until proven guilty is at least the idea. So I would at least remove them from their positions and at best arrest these people. Because if you're connected to the World Economic Forum, you know what's going on there. So that's what I would do in that order, step 1, 2, 3. So again, if I was a White House advisor, and I'm not, but if I was, I would say remove 5G, do it now, as soon as possible, do it. Second, stop using technology. And 3, anybody connected, I don't care if you're related to them or not, I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat, you gotta arrest or at least remove anybody from elected office who's a member of the World Economic Forum or the whole central bank system. And as in Canada, you saw Klaus Schwab say proudly, he says, in Canada, we have penetrated the cabinets with the World Economic Forum members. And at least I know at least half of the cabinet up in Canada is controlled by, so Trudeau is a puppet. He's a member of the World Economic Forum. And so anybody connected to that has to go.
There's a lot in there that I would love to have a longer conversation with you. Sorry, go ahead, Simon, but there's a lot.
Oh, go ahead, Michael. It's fine.
No, I was just a commentary on there. The 5G, the actual, because we like to dive deep into things. Obviously, we're going to have you for another 5 minutes, so we can't. But I know Dr. Rashid Buttar went into this a lot, and he was one of the first ones to raise the alarms on that. I've done a couple videos on fifth generation wireless technology. That stuff is bad. Can you give us a fourth? What do you think about crypto? Actually, never mind. What do you think about crypto in terms of the future and kind of?
Well, we know that this is what we know. We know that the inventor of Bitcoin has sort of a mysterious origin story. And if you begin to follow the origins of Bitcoin and when it rolled out and what was happening simultaneously, there's some confusion there. We don't know Catherine Austin Fitz does a really good job breaking that down, but I believe that you got to look into that. But you are seeing now, I mean, SWIFT, which is a financial communication system, has announced that they are going to be rolling out central bank digital currencies at pretty much every American bank. You have Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They've all teamed up together to introduce a new gold-backed programmable central bank digital currency. They've been hoarding the Earth's gold for the past 17 consecutive years, and now BRICS has added Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran. As of January 1st, now you have what appears to be dozens of countries wanting to join BRICS. They've built this thing called the New Development Bank in Shanghai. It's a physical bank created to usher in the central bank digital currencies. We call this surveillance under the skin. We might call this a social credit score system, but that's very terrifying. And so the mechanism with which they're going to do that is a programmable central bank digital currency. So do I have irrefutable evidence that all cryptocurrency is perverse? No, don't have evidence of that. Do I have suspicions? Yes. But again, we just want to, you do not want to have a centralized way where you can turn off somebody's ability to buy or sell. So let me give you an example. I'm a libertarian. So 2/3 of Republicans irritate me in America. I'm a libertarian. So 2/3 of Democrats, probably 90% of Democrats, if I'm being objective, probably 99% of Democrats annoy me. Probably 80% of Republicans annoy me. Yeah, now we're getting honest now. Probably 99% of Democrats bother me, and probably 85% of Republicans bother me. That's kind of my flow, because I don't like the idea of, excuse me, I'm here from the government. I'm here to help by taking away your freedoms and making you dependent. I can't stand that idea. I just want to be left alone. I grew up poor. I'd like to be able to control my own destiny. That's kind of what I like. So, but if you put me in charge and you said, Clay Clark's your new leader, you've made a series of poor life decisions, Clay's your leader now, and he gets to decide who buys or sells. My worldview is let everybody buy or sell. And then, don't buy from businesses that you don't want to support. That would be my recommendation. But most people on the Republican side are pretty quick to hit the red button and neutralize the voice of the Democrats. And many Democrats are pretty quick to neutralize the voice of the Republicans. I just see that. So anytime of programmable central bank digital currency where the currency is centralized, I'm very concerned about that. So I would push for mass decentralization.
Yeah, decentralization seems to be the theme. And Catherine Austin Fitz is an amazing voice in all of this. I know her main message has been, everything can't go digital. Their goal is to have everything digital. And as soon as everything is digital, we're screwed. So we have to make sure that we keep some element of this system grounded in the physical world. It's the total digital move that empowers them, essentially. So, we're looking at decentralization as this major theme. So I think one of the last things to touch on really would be the decentralization of media. I know that, that seems to be a big part of your goals in coming to the Podcasters Conference, that you hosted. There really seems to be an emphasis on uplifting decentralized media, that this element of this war in which, information warfare is contended with by having all these smaller media entities rise up and push back against this mainstream narrative. What's the ideal vision for that? Since you hosted that conference and you're looking to empower, podcasters and alternative media to be better in business, but also more effective in this war. Do you see, do you have a vision for what happens to alternative media as things continue?
Well, I think, and you can maybe, you guys know, because you were there, but I didn't charge anybody for that event, and the whole purpose was just so people could come to the event, and some people could reject what I'm saying. Some people could accept it, embrace it, whatever. But it's just so funny because today I'm putting out a lot of Rumble shows about the eclipse, the convergence with NASA NASA has a mission right now called Serpent Deity, taking place at the very same time that the eclipse is happening, and the very, very same time that the CERN Hadron Collider is being turned on. Anyway, so I happen to think it's funny. Or sad, but my emotional spectrum is either I'm mad or I'm laughing. That's kind of that's all I have. And so to me, I'm putting all this information, and I put in funny video clips in with the news because I think it's hilarious to kind of mock the jackassery of the agenda. And there are people that are so pissed. So guys, probably 2/3 of the podcasters you met at our event, they are pissed. They are texting me like, this isn't funny. You should not be joking. You're a sick freak. I'm also the guy that cracked jokes at my best friend's funeral. I mean, I had everybody laughing at my best friend's funeral because that's how I choose to perceive life. So my best friend died at his funeral. I said, hey, you know, my best friend here, he passed away. Nobody wanted him to die, myself included, but he was an upbeat guy. And if we believe he's in heaven, and I do believe he is, then we should probably reflect on the positive experiences we had with him. So I'm going to share with you 10 stories about how he and I did jackassery things, maybe 10, maybe 5, maybe 3. We'll see how it goes. And hopefully you laugh. Hopefully, you know, and I went through it, and the family came up to me and they said, that was so cathartic. That was so great. Thank you for making it fun. I appreciate the levity. But then other people were so pissed. They just couldn't handle how pissed they were. You weren't respectful of the dead. I'm like, I'm his best friend. Shut up. Anyway, but the idea of a decentralized media is, you know, you can turn me off. You can go to a super serious podcast to hear the truth. You know, you can go to a funny show, lighthearted fun. So I just encourage everybody. My message is just, we need to have decentralization, absolute freedom, and you guys are a big part of it. So Simon and Michael, again, thank you guys for carving out time for me. I'm sorry I'm so back-to-back today, but we got a lot going on. I'm trying to help Peter Navarro finish raising money. That's the 74-year-old man who is Trump's top economic advisor. So if anybody out there can help me today, if you can go to givesendgo.com/Navarro. He is in prison right now. givesendgo.com/Navarro. Trump's chief economic advisor. He's in prison because he wouldn't betray President Trump. He wouldn't turn over his texts and emails and phone calls. So if you could support him today, givesendgo.com/Navarro. That's where I want the focus to be today if we can.
Excellent. We'll make sure that link is in the episode.
Thank you.